Back tonight here on News at Prime. A national extortion hotline will be launched on Friday. Senior police officials outlined plans to tackle syndicates in Parliament today, and several arrests have been made in KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng and the Northern Cape in connection with gangs demanding protection fee money, if you want to call it that. Police say over 1,500 calls have been received since a hotline was launched in the Eastern Cape.
Actively monitor those projects and be able to see if there are any disturbances that might require our reactive approach. Also, Chairperson, we have 2 hotlines that have been established. The first one being the Western Cape that took place last year in September, as well as the Eastern Cape. In terms of the effectiveness of the hotlines, the Eastern Cape has received a total of 1,525 calls. 37 cases were reported and 11 inquiries have been registered since inception. In the Western Cape, 71 positive calls were received. In the absence of a national extortion hotline, 4 of those belong to other provinces, so the province is now directing all of those to the relevant provinces. However, Chair, also it gives us a priority to say to this House that by this Friday, we will go live with the national hotline. We are working very closely with Vodacom through our TMS division. Thank you, Chair.
Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee Chairperson Ian Cameron joins us now for more on the country's fight against extortionists. Ian, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. A complex space that you are in, where you want to do oversight, but you're also dealing with sensitive information, that is security information, operations of the police. So not much flesh put on the bone for you as a committee to be able to successfully conduct that oversight. But are you satisfied, though, that the problem or the crisis is getting the necessary attention?
Thank you, Thabo. So I mean, obviously, we don't expect to have direct operational plans to be shared with us for logical reasons. I mean, it's important for the police to continue to have the initiative when they take on these extortionists. I think the shortages that we identified today was one specifically pertaining to budget details. We keep on hearing that there are budget and resource shortages, but it's very difficult for Parliament and this committee, especially from an oversight, but also a budget amendment angle, to support the relevant departments if we don't have those details. And also, I think the second thing that worried me was the fact that we didn't see what the accountability metrics would be. In other words, what are the specific things or targets that we could use to measure the success or the lack thereof in the fight against extortion? So there was quite a bit of detail missing, and we did discuss this, and I assume that within the coming weeks, I know that within the coming weeks we'll have yet another session to start determining how we can measure success or, again, the lack thereof.
But if you measure, for example, it's not your administration, of course, the numbers that were shared of 2019, in Gauteng alone, 2,084 cases, 800 arrests, only 45 convictions. Western Cape, 1,476, 683 arrests, 36 convictions. KZN, 816, 237 arrests, 35 convictions. Eastern Cape, those are problem areas, 434, 108 arrests, and only 30. And if you look at that score, surely if you were using that as measurable outcomes, that's not where we want to be.
No, it's very worrying. We keep on calling for an integrated strategy. Today, the Deputy Minister, and it was a positive suggestion that DM Boshio made, to say that why can't the 2 committees in terms of justice and police, have an integrated approach. But and obviously we will. I mean, justice and the police committee are already in contact with each other. But in terms of an integrated governmental approach, it is absolutely crucial, and I cannot emphasize this enough, that both the leadership of the SAPS and the MPA need to come together to make sure that their incentive or their targets or their goals, their mission and vision are integrated. Because at the moment, And I'm going to put it very basically. Cops try to fill the court roll and the MPA tries to empty it. And now there's several reasons for the low conviction rates. The one is that cases get withdrawn. But I think the more crucial challenges, we should include the lack of decent investigation. There's a serious problem with proper investigation by the police. And then there's a really big problem with successful prosecution. So we need to do introspection before we just say that it's cases that are withdrawn. So if we just take the numbers that were given to us, it already indicates that we're not winning the fight. And I'm concerned about the fact that sometimes these presentations create the impression that things are all good and well, that we're busy with the fight. But we're not seeing that we're winning the fight. And the reality to people on the ground and the presentations that get shown are they differ too extremely to say to me that the current authorities have control over the situation.
What ideas come from the members of the committee? I mean, when they hear that the problem area is the area that we are trying to fix broadly in the economy, systemically in the country, where you want everybody to participate, so inclusive growth, if you like. But this very same attempt at inclusive growth has been abused by the so-called business forums that demand the 30%, they get the 30%, they come back, they ask for more, and then only then businesses realize, oops, we're in trouble because we can't pay these people anymore. Then only then they try and go and report to the police, and the police are really not successful because even our system as it sits right now doesn't have a clear legislative definition of what extortion is. But how do we deal with this question of business forum? How do we legitimize these things? How do we make sure that business forums, for example, can't go directly to a business and demand this money? Have some other way in which we are able to give the 30% procurement or spend that is put into a project?
No, it's very important. Look, to be blatantly honest, I don't think we should actually even acknowledge them as business fora if they do that, because in actual fact, they're causing for especially small businesses in poorer communities to have to pay an extra or an additional type of tax. Today, I actually referred to these structures as being tax pirates because that's exactly what they are, and they end up holding an entire community hostage. And the problem is, as you correctly said, it's almost like being addicted to a kind of a drug. You know, you have a little bit and then it doesn't satisfy you anymore, then you have some more, and so it slowly starts rising. And I think this is the big issue as well, is the fact that, extortion isn't something new to South Africa. It may have started small in some areas, but we knew about it. Nothing was done about it. And now it has grown that it's really become a big cancer in society. Something from the committee's point of view that I must emphasize is the idea of identifying international best practices. About 2 weeks ago, I shared examples from how they combated and virtually stopped extortion and other organized crime in countries like Japan or the mafia in Italy. And the ways that they did it to literally start with a public declaration against organized crime, where big business especially stepped forward first and literally made public declarations against this. And that positive sense of communication completely overruled, the negative influence of these extortion rackets, and therefore it helped a lot. A big part that we need to do introspection on is what we are doing ourselves to address the challenges in terms of corruption in the South African Police Service as well as the MPA. And obviously we need to question what the conviction rates are and the disciplinary processes have entailed against members that have been found to be involved in these things. I must commend the police over the last few weeks. They really have had significant successes by not only arresting extortionists that started off as civilians, but they also arrested several police officers that are involved. And now we need to see, as they said today, that they will start increasing the level of perpetrators that they are focusing on, from level 1 and 2 perpetrators or targets to 3 to 5. And that's a very good sign that they're starting to say, but how can we level up to make sure that we address the kingpin problem and don't just make a whole lot of low-level, a high amount of low-level arrests.
The 6 work stream approach, you think is a good approach of divide and conquer? I mean, in other departments, we've heard how the work streams could have actually exacerbated the problem if you talk the issue of what would have happened at social development at the time. Do you see this division of 6 work streams from info work stream, case management work stream, training and skilling work stream, stakeholder engagement, the poker work stream, and the legislative review work streams enhancing the work that needs to happen?
Absolutely. Look, I don't think that I don't even want to call what was presented today a plan, because I don't think it really is a plan. It was more of a strategic overview, and we said that as criticism to them. But what I must say in a positive sense about it is that in terms of the work stream model, I think with the correct leadership, it can be extremely successful, but you need a very much a hands-on and proactive approach in terms of leadership. Something that we've questioned as a local example of the workstream approach is for example what's being done in the Eastern Cape. We must question, for example, who is the commander? Is the commander experienced in these types of crimes, not committing these crimes, but curbing them? Does he or she have the relevant experience to say, how do I lead a joint task force or task team of multidisciplinary units and multidisciplinary departments to tackle such a problem? And then obviously something that you mentioned now, one of the work streams is stakeholder engagement. It's something that is often left lacking, or that we speak with stakeholders but don't actually pull them in. This is where another positive step, and it's one of the more major positive steps, I believe, is the recent agreement that was signed with the Western Cape government. Within the coming week, another agreement of cooperative framework, or rather a cooperative framework, will be signed with the Eastern Cape provincial government, but also around the Nelson Mandela Bay area, to see how they can join forces to combat these things. And that's the way we need to approach it. We pull in the private sector, local government, provincial government, and I think together we can literally attack the problem. The key resource that is crucial, it's not the money or vehicles or human resource, it's about proper leadership, fit and proper leadership, not the issue that we've seen now with the appointment or the promotion of a general in the Hawks that has very questionable credentials.
Yeah.
We need fit and proper leadership, and then we can tackle these problems.
I was going to come to that. You started off the meeting by highlighting that particular matter, calling for a review of that appointment, calling for a fitness to hold office investigation, but 3, calling even for the promotion to be held back. During the engagements, then something comes up around an integrity testing system. Now, if something like that could happen, should we trust the integrity testing system of the police?
So, no. And I might not be very popular for saying that so directly, but we're not here to just be friends. We need to be frank about the issues that we face. What I said to the head of the Hawks today, General Godfrey Labia, I said to him, General, I have my doubts about the very panel that made this type of decision. And some of the things that were said was that punishment shouldn't be punitive, it must be corrective. And I understand all of those things. But when you become a Lieutenant General of the South African Police Service or in the Hawks, regardless, you are holding up a higher standard than the average civilian. It cannot be expected that you can just be the same as the general public. You need to be at a higher standard. You need to set a higher standard in terms of integrity. And one of the members, Honorable James, today mentioned something very important, that ethics plays a significant role. We can't just go on expertise or a curriculum vitae, a CV of someone or years of experience. Ethics plays a critical role. And if you're seen hanging out with known extortion gang leaders, if you are seen sharing pornographic material while you're head of a child protection unit, those types of things, cause for serious questions. And then we must ask, what is the integrity of a lot of the leadership in these bodies? And I think it's going to be a very robust discussion this coming Friday again, because we will be engaging about this again. And it's crucial that these types of decisions are questioned by bodies like the Police Portfolio Committee. That's why we are there. And I encourage the committee and other similar bodies to do the same with other appointments in the future.
Speaking of Friday, the toll-free line going live. I mean, you've got 10-111, you've got a lot of other 0800 numbers that are there. It seems to have worked in the Eastern Cape, certainly. But is this something that is going to be working sustainably going forward?
Yeah, so Deputy Minister Bushio today said, please give us the benefit of the doubt. And I must say, I think it's a fair comment from her. You know, she said, give them the benefit of the doubt because they have already indicated signs of improvement. They've already indicated certain successes. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's what we will do. It's important that if it doesn't function the way it should, then we should be allowed to ask the necessary questions, which we will do. We've already indicated that we will do an oversight visit in a month or two's time in the Eastern Cape regarding extortion, where we will get hands-on feedback regarding the specific hotline, not only in the Eastern Cape, but nationally too, and so too from other provinces. So we will give them the benefit of the doubt. I think it can be a very positive initiative, and I really do hope that it does function properly.
Yeah. The absence of the minister, did it bother you at all?
No, not at all. We've got an open line of communication. At the moment, we are struggling a bit with scheduling of committees at Parliament, and unfortunately, the police minister had to attend cabinet meeting this morning. So we understand that. I think I must commend the ministry up until now, because every time so far that the minister couldn't attend, both the deputy minister were extremely well briefed with feedback, and we received relevant feedback before the committee was held as well. So far so good. These are the sacrifices that need to be made. I think the fact that we've got an open line of communication really helps a lot.